guys, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Julia. So today I'm going to show you how to make some Danish buns. It is a very old tradition to make these Fastelavnsboller, as they are called. I think it's about 300 years old or something, maybe. Don't hang me up on that. But before, it had something to do with fasting, and then the day before people started fasting, I hope it's called fasting, then they made some buns filled with a lot of delicious stuff, and then they eat it before they started fasting. So that is what we today call Fastelavnsboller, and today I'm going to show you how to make some Fastelavnsboller that is filled with a vanilla custard or cream and then some marzipan. But if you don't like marzipan, you can easily leave that out. That is totally up to you. So let's get started. This year here we have Fastelavn on the 7th of February, so that is very soon, so I thought it was time to show you how to make these. But to make my Fastelavnsboller or my dough, I am going to use some flour, and that is just some all-purpose flour, some fresh yeast, some cold whole milk, 1 egg, some sugar, a pinch of salt, and then some butter that I've just cut into some cubes. So first up, I'm just going to crumble my yeast in this bowl here. I hope you can see what I'm doing. And when that is crumbled, I'm just going to add my milk over it and just let those two things dissolve together. Like that, and then just in with the milk. So I have my flour in my stirring machine here, and as you can see before, I've cut my butter into some cubes, and I'm just going to turn on for my machine here just on low speed, and then I'm just going to add in my butter gradually. So I just turn a little bit up for the speed, and what I'm going to do now is just to add in my sugar and my pinch of salt. And while that is going to stir around, I'm just going to mix my yeast and milk mix while you cannot see it, but just mix until the yeast is completely dissolved, and then I'm going to add in my egg. So now I have just whisked my milk and yeast and egg together, and I'm just going to add that into my bowl here, and then I'm just going to keep mixing it until it is nice and sticky dough, and then I'm going to cover it up and let it rise for about 2 hours. So I actually should have made my vanilla custard before I started on the dough, but because of the light today and stuff, I'm first going to start with my vanilla custard now while my dough is rising. But if you have time all day and don't have to film in the daylight like me, then make the vanilla custard first before you start on your dough, so it has a chance to cool down completely in the fridge. But because I'm going to make it now, I'm going to make it, of course, and then I'm going to place it in my freezer. But every 5 minutes I'm going to stir in it so it doesn't freeze anywhere, because it's not good to freeze a vanilla custard. But now I am going to make it. But what I'm going to use for my vanilla custard is some whole milk, some cornstarch, 1 egg yolk. You should pretty much use a large one. And then I'm going to use seeds from a vanilla pod and the vanilla pod itself, and I have just added the seeds into my sugar. So first up, I'm just going to add my big bowl of milk here into my pot, and then I'm just going to use this one here, and I'm also just going to add my 2 halves of my vanilla pod into my pot with milk in. But now into this here, I'm going to add in my other portion of milk, my sugar and vanilla, my cornstarch, and my 1 egg yolk. And I'm just going to whisk all of this here well together. So I have finally bought a hot plate. There are probably still going to be some videos in the future where I'm not going to use this because I have made some videos in advance. But I have bought a hot plate, so now I have the chance to actually cook in front of you when I'm using a stovetop. So that is what I have here now, and I just have placed my pot on top with my milk and my pot in. And I'm just going to keep stirring it, and I just have it on high heat. And when this here boils, I'm going to add my cornstarch mix in and just let it boil for about 5 seconds while stirring well around. And then I'm going to place it in this box here and then in the freezer and stir in it every 5 minutes. But if you have the time, then make the vanilla custard first and then just place in the fridge and just stir once in a while. So this here is now boiling, and I'm just going to add my cornstarch in. And when that is in, I'm just going to let it boil for about 5 seconds while stirring very much. And then I'm just going to add it into this here, and I'm not going to show you guys that because I cannot make the time to switch my camera around while those 5 seconds are going on. But now I'm just going to add this in here. And then just get it up to a boil and then 5 seconds. So it's not boiling yet, but I can really feel that it is getting thicker, and hopefully you can also see it. So I'm just going to turn off the heat because my hot plate is still very warm. And now it is boiling, so 5 seconds and then into my box here. So that is it. And then just into my pot. So this here is my pot filled with vanilla custard, and I'm just going to place it in my freezer and stir every 5 minutes. And when that is completely cooled and my bun dough are completely done rising, I return. And while I made my vanilla custard, I of course removed the vanilla parts from the milk before I added in my cornstarch mix. But now that my vanilla custard is done and cool and my dough is done rising, I am just going to roll it out together with some flour on my table here, and then I will return. So my dough here is now rolled out, and I have just cut it in some squares. And because I was not good at cutting straight, these 2 pieces simply just got too small, so I have removed them. But if you can cut straight, then you'll get around 25 pieces. But what I'm going to do now is just to add a little lump of marzipan and cream in the middle of each, and then I'm just going to close them up. And it is really important that you close them up nicely so there is no holes and stuff, because then the cream is just run out all the curd. And I've just prepared 2 baking sheets over here with the parchment paper on. So when they are done, these here, I'll just place them over there, and then I'll cover them up and let them rise for 1 hour more. So now my Fastelavnsboller are ready to get into the oven. My oven is already 180 degrees C convention oven. If you don't have convention, then have it at 200 degrees C. I'm going to bake them in there for around 15 to 20 minutes, just until they are nice and golden brown. Then I'm going to let them cool down and then make a glaze out of some icing sugar and some water. And I'm not going to show you how to make that glaze because that is really just icing sugar and water and just mix until you have the consistency that you want. And then I'm just going to add that on there. And that is basically it. I'm also going to add some pistachios and then some raspberry dust on top. But you just don't have to do that. That is really an option, and that is just what I choose to do. Yeah, that is basically it. So I really hope you enjoyed the recipe for my Fastelavnsboller, and if you want to give them a go, all the ingredients are down below in my description. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel here, and I hope to see you all again tomorrow. Bye!